यार हमारा पूरा बिजनेस में ना फैमिली ने खाली 1 करोड़ रुपया डाला है।
अच्छा।
तो डैड ने बोला कि भाई 1 करोड़ रुपया है, तुम लोग बना लो, इसके बाद मेरे पास वापस मत आना।
कैन यू टेल मी वन ऑफ दैट प्रॉब्लम जो आपको लगा कि इस पे कोई फोकस नहीं कर रहा, ऑल्दो देयर आर सो मेनी स्किन ब्रांड्स?
माय वाइफ अनीशा वो स्विम करती है, तो उसे लग रहा था क्लोरीन के कारण पानी में उसका टैनिंग हो रहा है, सन के कारण टैनिंग हो रहा है। तो जो प्रॉब्लम हमें दिख रही है, जो कोई और सॉल्व नहीं कर रहा है, उससे हम स्टार्ट करें। वी वेंट टू फॉर्मुलेटर्स, वी ट्रैवल्ड अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड टू फाइंड आउट कि डज अ प्रोडक्ट लाइक दिस एग्जिस्ट। सो दीज आर द फर्स्ट 2 products which were new to Dot & Key and actually first in India.
How to find out the actual consumer problems?
We use social media and Instagram polls, a lot of calls to existing consumers to find out what do they want from the brand next, or what are we not giving them which they expect from us, right?
अगर कोई कॉम्पिटिटर आपका प्रोडक्ट को कॉपी करता है तो आपका नेक्स्ट मूव क्या होता है?
We're not afraid of any brand copying us, because the reality is that if people are copying you, if brands are copying you, the best case scenario is number 2, and we'll always win number 1.
What's the best advice that you have ever got?
I think try fast, fail fast, grow fast. Someone told me that please don't keep your ideas in the head, execute it fast, learn from it, move on.
What is something like unusual branding decision that really worked out for you?
I think the packaging, number 1.
Okay.
I think the brand over time has more than 10 design patents. So that's become a moat in us building the brand. I think the name, we kept the name Dot & Key because we wanted to identify the missing dots of your skincare regime and give the key the solution.
अगर कोई आज अपना स्किन केयर ब्रांड शुरू करना चाहता है, what suggestion, what advice do you have for them? एक साथ 1-1.5 घंटे का पॉडकास्ट देखना हर बार पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता है, इसलिए हमने आपके लिए 2 और चैनल्स बना दिए हैं, शॉर्ट्स के लिए और क्लिप्स के लिए। पूरे पॉडकास्ट में जो बेस्ट पार्ट होता है हम उसे क्लिप्स में डाल देते हैं, और अगर आपको शॉर्ट्स कंज्यूम करना पसंद है तो हमारे शॉर्ट चैनल में भी जाकर आप देख सकते हो। सुयाश, स्किन केयर ब्रांड क्यों?
I think biggest reason my wife skincare कर रखी थी, she understood skincare.
Okay.
Before we got married, and we wanted to do something interesting. And we thought that consumer brands are great. So we start with skincare because we had some inherent knowledge. Second, once we deep dived and हम जब अच्छे से देखे इंडस्ट्री कैसा है, तो बहुत broken लगा हमें इंडस्ट्री। हमें लगा कि सब ब्रांड सिमिलर प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च कर रहे हैं, डिफरेंट कंटेनर्स में लॉन्च कर रहे हैं। इंडियन स्किन केयर में कोई फन प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग ब्रांड नहीं है, सब बहुत सीरियस ब्रांड है या बहुत फन ब्रांड है जो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं करती कंज्यूमर का। तो हमें लगा कि अगर एक ब्रांड लॉन्च करे जो फन भी हो, क्लियरली प्रॉब्लम भी सॉल्व करे, तो ये जो ब्रोकन स्किन केयर इंडस्ट्री है ये सॉल्व हो सकती है।
ओके।
सो इसलिए हम सोचे कि स्किन केयर ही करते हैं एंड ऑनलाइन करते हैं, बिकॉज डिलीवरीज फास्टर होगी, डिफरेंशिएटेड प्रोडक्ट्स हम बेच सकते हैं, बिकॉज हमारा नाम डॉट इन की का बहुत क्लियर मीनिंग है। सो we kept the name Dot & Key because we wanted to identify the missing dots of your skincare regime and give the key the solution.
Okay.
So हम हमेशा वही प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च किए हैं जो कोई और नहीं लॉन्च किया है, फर्स्ट इन इंडिया लॉन्च किया है, कंज्यूमर फर्स्ट लॉन्च किया है, because consumers really wanted certain solutions to certain skin problems that no one was delivering, because the larger companies were focusing on the larger challenges, larger problems, because they wanted larger market sizes.
Okay.
But we were young, we were small, and we thought, यार, if we solve the consumer problem consistently over time, brand तो बड़ी हो सकती है, business बड़ा हो सकता है। तो ये सोच के हम Dot & Key चालू किए।
Okay. अभी आपने बोला कि आप प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व करना चाहते थे जो कि एड्रेस नहीं किया जा रहा था। कैन यू टेल मी वन ऑफ दैट प्रॉब्लम जो आपको लगा कि इस पे सब कोई फोकस नहीं कर रहा, ऑल्दो देयर आर सो मेनी स्किन ब्रांड्स?
एब्सोल्युटली। सो मोस्टली सब मॉइस्चराइजर्स, फेस वॉशेस पे फोकस कर रहे थे एज कैटेगरीज। माय वाइफ अनीशा वो स्विम करती है, काफी रेगुलरली स्विम करती थी।
अच्छा।
तो उसे लग रहा था क्लोरीन के कारण पानी में उसका टैनिंग हो रहा है, सन के कारण टैनिंग हो रहा है। स्विमिंग करने के बाद जब नहाते हो ना, तो क्लोरीन क्या है, बाल में लग जाती है, इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू रिमूव इट, सो योर हेयर बिकम वेरी फ्रिजी। तो अनीशा बोली, यार प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग ब्रांड बनाना है, तो जो प्रॉब्लम हमें दिख रही है, जो कोई और सॉल्व नहीं कर रहा है, उससे हम स्टार्ट करें। सो फिर हम बोले कि इसका सोल्यूशन निकल सकता है क्या। सो हम वी वेंट टू फॉर्मुलेटर्स, वी ट्रैवल्ड अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड टू फाइंड आउट कि डज अ प्रोडक्ट लाइक दिस एग्जिस्ट। So we realized that there are certain ingredients if we put in the product, it can help. So then we created 2 products. One is pre-swim, one is post-swim. In pre-swim, we launched a product which has SPF plus waterproof, so chlorine protection. So it forms a barrier against chlorine. So chlorine tanning and sun tanning avoid हो जाता है काफी हद तक, especially for regular swimmers. And दूसरा for frizzy hair, frizz hair control, ताकि whatever is accumulated in the hair, chlorine and other particles, वो completely निकल जाता है. So these were the first two products which were new to Dot & Key and actually first in India.
Yeah, absolutely. तो ऐसे कौन से अर्ली साइंस थे जब आपको लगा कि हाँ अब हम इसको लाइक मास स्केल कर सकते हैं, इट इज स्केलेबल ब्रांड दैट वी आर बिल्डिंग? आपको कभी रियलाइज हुआ?
यार हमारा पूरा बिजनेस में ना फैमिली ने खाली 1 करोड़ रुपया डाला है.
अच्छा.
तो डैड ने बोला कि भाई 1 करोड़ रुपया है, तुम लोग को बिजनेस बनाना है ब्यूटी का, तुम लोग बना लो, इसके बाद मेरे पास वापस मत आना for more investment, because this is where it ends, because you are trying something new. You try it, if it works great, if it doesn't, then you come back to the family business. So we thought that whatever we need to do within the budget. So the first 3 years of our business, we actually didn't lose any money at all, right? So we made sure that we are bootstrapped. Whatever that gave us to kind of invest in the business, it was more to buy stocks, right? So we made sure that consistently as time went by, our revenues were growing, but we were still making a little bit of money. EBITDA was positive from the beginning, right? So we realized that if we are growing in terms of top line, revenues are growing, bottom line is also staying consistent or slightly growing, there is a clear product market fit that we've kind of built in Dot & Key. And फिर जब कोविड आया ना, तो उस टाइम हमारे पास पैसे नहीं थे, कैश नहीं था बैंक में टू पे सैलरीज. तो हम रियलाइज किए कि अब पैसे तो देने हैं, we didn't want to go back to the family to kind of get more money from them. So we realized, यार, people are not going out, people are not wearing makeup anymore. People are sitting at home and they want to feel great about themselves. So we realized कि what if we target them, and luckily beauty came under essentials because it was very important for mental health and physical health. So we were allowed to ship it. So we made sure that we ran performance marketing campaigns and really scaled the brand during that time, because people were focusing on skincare. So we grew about almost 10 to 12x within a matter of 3-4 months. So our first 3 years as a journey, we scaled fairly profitably. But during those 3, 4, 5 months, we actually scaled 10x. So that's when we realized that we've become a serious brand. We can grow very fast. So us time we were from a 3-4 crores, we went to a 24-25 crores in revenue, right? And we realized that if we can go 10x from 3-4 to 24-25, we can also go to 250 from here. So that's when we realized that the product market fit was very strong and the brand could really scale from there. So I think being capital efficient, if you could scale the brand, that means the product market fit is very strong. And then you see social media engagement, you see what people are talking about you in comments on Instagram, through DMs, personal DMs, through people reaching out to the founders directly via email. So we got such a strong clarity on what we are doing right and what we are doing wrong. And the kind of love we were getting from our consumers is what really gave us the confidence that we had reached product market fit and the brand could become very large in the future. And I think the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely it is. 2-3 करोड़ से 20-25 करोड़ का जंप इज लाइक अ वेरी ह्यूज डिफरेंस देयर. उसके बाद चलो फिर दैट्स अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी, बट अभी इस जंप की बात करते हैं. ठीक है, व्हाट रियली वर्कड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर जंप? क्योंकि अभी बहुत जन वो 1-2 करोड़ वाले फेज में हैं. दे ऑल्सो वांट दैट फर्स्ट लीप एंड देन दे विल फिगर इट आउट. तो वहाँ पे लाइक आपने बोला परफॉर्मेंस मार्केटिंग, तो वहाँ पे आप डिजिटल मार्केटिंग पे ज़्यादा फोकस कर रहे थे कि आपने इन्फ्लुएंसर मार्केटिंग करी? क्या क्या आपके लिए बेस्ट काम करा?
आई थिंक हमारे नंबर 1 रीजन वाई वी सक्सीडेड वाज कि प्रोडक्ट हमारा राइट हुआ. सो हम कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स 20 अर्ली 20 में लॉन्च किए थे, 5-6 न्यू लॉन्चेस बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट वी फेल्ट द कंज्यूमर वांटेड इंडिया बट वर नॉट गेटिंग. सो वी सॉ ग्लोबल ट्रेंड्स एंड वी सॉ व्हाट प्रोडक्ट्स पीपल आर यूजिंग ग्लोबली टू सॉल्व consumer needs, and we thought that those products aren't available in India, let's launch it, right? So we got the best version of those products for the Indian skin, and once we launched those products, it was an instant hit. So we realized that product market is very important. Unique products which are solving for real consumer needs is really important. So even if you give it a little scale and people pick it up and people organically talk about it, the product sale becomes really high and you really grow very fast because of just inherent the product being unique and the product what people have wanted. So I think getting your product right is very critical. It's easy to spend money in performance marketing, it's easy to say that, okay, I'm not spending enough on marketing and that's why I'm not growing. But the reality is that you really need to find the right product for the right set of consumers and then spend little on marketing to make sure that you can grow very fast and very profitably in the process.
मतलब पहले एक सही प्रोडक्ट फिट ढूंढो जो एक्चुअल में जिसकी ज़रूरत है, जहाँ पे स्पेस है, and then find those consumer and then think about scaling and investing more on marketing or whatever. That's the process we should be following.
Absolutely.
जो आजकल बहुत सारे D2C brands हैं, they have a really hard time becoming profitable क्योंकि यहाँ पे खर्चे बहुत ज़्यादा है जब आप D2C brand होते हो. So what are they doing wrong that they have to face so much problem in becoming profitable initially?
So I've seen a lot of brands around us, right, over time. So as founders, Anisha and me both had a very strong philosophy that the amount of time we spend in raising capital, especially for consumer brands, right, and the amount of time we have to spend on finance and convincing them, and it's a repeated process. If that much amount of time we give in understanding the consumers, I think we'll solve their problem much better. And if we solve their problem better than anyone else in the market, your right to win significantly goes up and the brand really scales very fast, right? So what we've also realized as a brand and as founders that the moment you raise a lot of capital, instead of really solving business problems and taking the right decisions, you take wrong decisions and go for short-term gains. A lot of times. So these short-term gains really result in long-term problems for the brand. And a lot of marketing and a lot of investment inside these brands really push a lot of problems forward rather than it being solved permanently, right? So it becomes it goes into a loop, a negative loop of consistent fundraising and fund burning, instead of really becoming more and more efficient over time. And I think founders really need to treat capital with a lot of respect and not blow a lot of money in marketing on human resource when it's not required. So it's always the right amount of marketing investment, the right amount of human resource investment, and so that you can genuinely build something substantial. And the focus should not be on marketing, the focus should be on problem solving.
Right.
And that's the only way to grow profitably.
You have mentioned quite a few times that your first and most important focus is building the right product जिसका कंज्यूमर को नीड है. सो the product that you just mentioned कि swim के पहले प्री स्विम स्किन केयर सनस्क्रीन एंड पोस्ट swim वाला, दिस इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग. ऐसा कोई और फिट आपने जो ढूंढा जो गैप था?
हमने काफ़ी प्रोडक्ट्स ढूंढे. वी लॉन्च इंडियाज फर्स्ट SPF लिप बाम. सो हम रियलाइज किए कि इंडिया में UVA एंड UVB इंडेक्स काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता है, उसके अंदर टैनिंग काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता है, इसलिए सब कंप्लेन कर रहे होते हैं कि समर्स है, टैन हो गया, बिकॉज ऑफ विच पीपल वांटेड प्रोटेक्शन. एंड खाली स्किन में नहीं हो रहा था और लिप में भी हो रहा था. सो वी रियलाइज कि यार सनस्क्रीन तो सब कर रहे हैं बट कोई लिप सनस्क्रीन क्यों नहीं बना रहा. तो हम लिप बाम में लिप सनस्क्रीन डाल दिए सो दैट द प्रोटेक्शन दैट पीपल नीड फ्रॉम द सन दे कुड गेट दैट एज वेल.
ओके, मतलब एक कॉमन प्रॉब्लम जो सब लोग सॉल्व कर रहे हैं उसमें थोड़ा सा अलग क्या करें. एंड it there should be a requirement as well that it should be solving a problem.
It should be solving a real problem. So the moment you see other brands, right?
Yeah.
आप नया चीज कोई सॉल्व नहीं कर रहे हो, आप जो ऑलरेडी सॉल्व कर चुके हैं उसको थोड़ा सा बेटर करने का ट्राई कर रहे हो. बट अगर आप कंज्यूमर को अंडरस्टैंड करके जेन्युइनली एक प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करते हो तो आपको मार्केट में एक डोमिनेंट पोजीशन रखने का राइट होता है, बड़ा ब्रांड बिल्ड करने का राइट होता है. एंड अल्टीमेटली द रियल ट्रुथ इज कि कैन यू सॉल्व द कंज्यूमर प्रॉब्लम बेटर? इफ यू कैन देन यू हैव द राइट टू बी वेरी वेरी लार्ज एज अ ब्रांड.
How to find out the actual consumer problems?
I think by observation.
Okay.
For example, we were launching a sunscreen and we said that there are so many sunscreens in the market. How do we become different?
Yeah.
Right? So the entire thesis in the head is how can we different? What can we solve? Right? And then you keep pondering over it over a few months till you hit the right idea when you see something. Our observation was very clear. We saw that the moment heat was going up in India, sunscreen sales were going up. So sunscreen sales were directly proportional to how hot it was.
Yeah.
Right? And we realized that if we can create a sunscreen which was super light on the skin, did not make you sweat because you wear it when it's hot, right? So we created a cooling sunscreen. Sunscreen which makes your skin cooler even though you're wearing it when it's very hot. So you're solving for a real consumer problem better than anyone else. So the consumers see you different and they consistently come back to you. And you have a very clearly differentiated product than anyone else in the market, right? So your reason to win, your marketing investments on these products really go down. And over time, you become just profitable.
Yeah. Abhi to you have huge database, you can, have feedbacks and DMs and you have a lot of data जिसमें आप आगे के जब products निकालते हो तो वो भी आपके help करता होगा, I'm sure.
Of course. So what we do is we use social media and Instagram polls, a lot of calls to existing consumers to find out what do they want from the brand next, or what are we not giving them which they expect from us, right? So from crowdsourcing from all our consumers and community members, we really get to know exactly what to launch. And whatever we launch it in the brand language, the brand story, with the same consistency over time, which really makes the brand stand out.
So let's say you are about to launch a new product, you are planning कि चलो अब next month कुछ नया करते हैं. So can you take me step by step कि first step होता है maybe find the product and second R&D. Just walk me through the whole process.
So I think we start the entire process 1 year before the product launch. Typically for any ridiculously different, unique product which is solving a real consumer need which no one's solving. Okay. So great ideas are scarce, and we really need to give it a lot of deep thought in order to achieve it. So typically you start 1 year before we want to launch. For example, if next sunscreen season is say February next year, we start thinking about it in this sunscreen season, and we start thinking that what can we launch which the consumers expect from us next year, right? How can we solve their problem better? Okay. And then we think for the next 2-3 months that what is it they're expecting, what problem solution they want, and we keep on pondering over it. And alongside that, we think about what packaging we would want to launch that the consumers would be enticed, would be excited to buy the product, right? And third is, after we found the right idea, we found what kind of format we want to or packaging we want to go with, we go to the R&D team, our internal R&D team, and we tell our R&D head, this is what we're looking for. This is the brief. Can you make it for us? So they take about 2 to 3 months to kind of create the right formulation, which might be as much as 70, 80 different iterations to reach one product formula, right? Before we launch it. Yeah. And it takes us about 2 to 3 months to commercialize the product. And we typically like to get it 1 month before we want to launch it because it takes time to distribute to all the different warehouses we have and all the marketplaces. So when we launch it, it's available across all the touch points we can create. So that when we invest in marketing and when we educate the product on launch, consumers can access it wherever they feel is convenient, right? So that's typically what we do. So the entire thesis comes from how do we solve the consumer's problem better? Unique packaging, unique formulation, unique idea which we're solving. So that when the product's launched, people are immediately enticed, our existing consumers, new consumers, and we need to do it consistently as a brand to make sure that in a heavily crowded market, we can stand out and the consumers stick to us.
Yeah. Even आप packaging की बात करो, मैंने जब the first thing that comes to mind when you see Dot & Key का page or their website, it's very fun, popping out, and also there is differentiation as well. जैसे एक आपका hydrating product है तो वो blue color का है. So there's a lot of thought behind it, and can you tell me why the such popping colors, such bright colors do you use?
I think 2 reasons.
Okay.
When you're building a brand, right, especially a consumer brand, recall is one of the most important aspects of the brand that you want to build. And recall can be built by 2 things. One, when someone's not bought the product before and they see the packaging and the packaging is very sticky, so they tend to remember the brand. So the stickiness is much higher than a regular brand, right? Second, if they bought the product, they've used the product and it worked for them. That also builds recall in consumers who've tried your brand. So by making sure that we have differentiated packaging, by having a unique shape, right, that recall is very important, helps you get the consumer buy it for the first time. So by using bright colors, by using great designs of containers. And we actually catered to a Gen Z, a 23-year-old girl, and the entire brand's designed for her. So she likes poppy colors right now. She likes this pretty looking design.
Yeah.
They are design minded and they want problem solutions. They want the product to solve things for them. So that's why we ended up making it fun.
Yeah.
And a little quirky and the design slightly crazy. So that this consumer might be enticed by us and we might stand out in a crowded shelf.
Yeah. Even the fonts that you have used for your logo, it's so fun. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
The first thing, if I can remember, wo hat wala dhakkan.
Yeah.
So yeah, you make us remember your product by doing these quirky things. Okay. What is something like unusual branding decision that really worked out for you?
I think the packaging, number one.
Okay.
I think the brand over time has more than 10 design patents. So that's become a moat in us building the brand. I think the name, Dot and Key, because the name Dot and Key is so unique. It's got two separate words. It's got an ampersand. And it sounds so odd when people think about it. Like it doesn't sound like a beauty brand at all. So the fact that you're unique, it hits different in the consumer's head. It gets people curious and it still builds recall. So that's one of the craziest things that we've done. And I think it pays off.
How to build a cult-like loyal customer base in a D2C brand?
I think cult-like is really hard. The consumers online have so many options and it's like a perfectly competitive market with every brand really trying to outperform others and consistently innovating, especially in today's consumer brands in India. I feel like buying a new shoe every week because there are so many great brands out there and creating products with great design consistently, like up to the global standards. But I just feel every brand has a core. They have a story, right? They're known for something. As long as you stick to your brand story and do it consistently over time and bring true to your consumer and always inside wanting their best, right? We'll always create a brand which is very unique, very distinct and has a strong place in the consumer's mind. This is the only way you can build a very strong consumer pull based brand. And it can over time become very large, very profitable business. And the only way to do this is just this consistency.
You tell me, men and women का जो स्किन केयर प्रेफरेंसेस होता है उसमें क्या डिफरेंस है, स्पेशली इंडिया के बारे में बात करें तो?
एक टाइम में बहुत डिफरेंस था. अच्छा. Where men wanted completely different brands from women. But in Dot and Key, at least I know this context, increasing number of men have started using Dot and Key, which is actually designed for a female in terms of our marketing communications at least. But you see more in like the lines between men and women really blurring, because of which I think more and more brands are going to be more unisex than specific male or female brands. And that's going to be the story across different brands in India. As a country at least, and that's what I strongly believe.
Revenue के अलावा कौन सा ऐसा metric है जो आप regularly monitor करते हो?
New to brand, like really want more number of consumers coming in and entering the brand every month, because ultimately retention is a pillar of growth. But every brand needs to consistently acquire a lot more consumers to the brand. So new to brand becomes a really important metric to see brand health and brand growth.
Okay. You talked about retention. Let's talk about that.
I think it's a cornerstone of a business, of any consumer brand, especially online, because you have the data very clearly. Second, I feel retention, people overestimate the power of retention. People think the only way brands can grow is retention, but that's not the case.
Okay.
In the book, How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp, he clearly shows empirical evidence, which shows that the difference between the number 1 brand in the category and the number 8 brand in the category, the retention rate is not significantly different, not more different than 20-25%.
Okay.
So I think retention is overrated, and ultimately the best brands are created by new consumer acquisition. So I think it has to be a healthy mix of acquisition and retention that builds strong brands. But having said that, I think retention grows over time as the brand finds its footing, understands its consumers, and consistently delivers what the consumer is expecting in the brand language, in the brand story, and generally being true to the consumer, your brand will have a very strong and consistent retention. Apart from obviously using media to kind of talk to them over time through performance and through CRM tools. I think that's the only way.
Okay. अगर कोई competitor आपका product को copy करता है तो आपका next move क्या होता है?
We have patents across all our products, design patents for our packaging. So they can't copy our packaging, most of them, right? So I think we are good when it comes to outer packaging, which which is a clear moat and kind of make sure that our brand kind of stands apart. So that can't be copied because then we will go to court, right? I think second is product formulation. So what we've realized is that if we make our formulations in-house and if we work hard enough in our formulation, it takes about a year for competition to catch up with us, right? So they miss the current season. So what we typically do is we end up investing a lot of monies in that season to build that product for our consumer. So by the time competition comes in with their product, the conversation's stale. And I think that becomes a moat for that product over time. So we are more of, can we have higher SOV in the consumer's head for that specific product? And then that becomes a moat. So we're not afraid of any brand copying us, because the reality is that if people are copying you, if brands are copying you, the best case scenario is number 2. And we'll always win number 1.
Yeah. Do you think a great brand can sustain with a mediocre product?
I think mediocre products don't sustain.
Okay.
They give you short-term kicks and short-term gains. But the best brands are created on stellar products, which are clearly differentiated.
Okay.
I think when you're starting a brand, you can start fast, you can fail fast. So it's okay to have a mediocre product till you move on to having a stellar product. But if you want to build a large, profitable business, which has very strong brand recall and brand loyalty, you need stellar products, which are very, very differentiated.
ठीक है. अगर कोई आज अपना स्किन केयर ब्रांड शुरू करना चाहता है, what advice do you have for them?
I think you should always start, follow your passion.
Okay.
Don't do it that you'll get an exit. Do it because you love doing it. And even if you're doing it, find a niche. Go very deep in understanding the consumer's issue that you're trying to solve. Solve it better. Solve it sharp. Launch less number of products, but do a much better job in the product that you're launching. And just be at it. I think ultimately it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And as long as you're consistently running, you will reach a destination which is large enough, big enough, and much larger than you have ever imagined it to be. But do start it. Like, it shouldn't be in the head, because most ideas kind of fail because it never goes into execution.
Your brand is also very active on social media. So what's the strategy that you have built around social media?
The first thing we did was we identified who our consumer is. So our perfect consumer persona is a 23-year-old girl who is a Gen Z. So we make sure that every content piece, every communication, the communication language, the communication tonality, the colors, it all caters to that one 23-year-old girl who sees the world through the social media's lens, right? And what we also do is we make sure that every content on our social media page has content that a Gen Z likes, which is nostalgic, which is fun, which is energetic, and gives them positive vibes, because that's what they bask on as consumers. And even influencers, we use a lot of influencers to build our brand and get people talking about our new launches. And we make sure that it's primarily for like hardcore skin enthusiasts, and it is for a young girl following a certain influencer and their audiences. We tap so that our brand is sharp, clear, and the communication is for that specific audience who we designed the entire brand. In fact, our ad film is designed for a 23-year-old girl. In fact, Shania is a young girl of a similar age with great skin, and that's why we took her as a brand ambassador, because the entire thesis was, can we get a young girl who understands that Gen Z consumer behaves like one, who likes the world positive and fun, and that's how they see it, and they like everything very pretty, and that's how the brand's designed to be very aesthetic in its appeal. So yeah, so I think making sure that it's a 360-degree approach to the perfect profile of consumer you're delivering for, and consistently delivering for her is what we have done on our social media, on our content creation framework, on our influencer framework. So the brand is consistent and consistently targeted. So assuming the brand becomes 2 years older and the 23-year-old girl wants something different, the brand will evolve for that 23-year-old girl and what she wants and how she sees the world. So making sure that you are consistently fresh and targeting that same consumer over and over again over passage of time is hopefully what will build Dot & Key one of a cult favorite beauty brands, hopefully in the world.
Absolutely. And it is a brand made from in Kolkata. कोलकाता को बहुत बदनाम करा हुआ है कि यहाँ से बिजनेस नहीं निकल कर आते अच्छे and all that. So what do you have to say about that?
I think Kolkata is a great city
Yeah.
to build a startup. It has great people, great talent. There is a bit of a brain drain from the city where like top talent kind of leaves the city. But if founders have the patience to build their team, train their team, and genuinely want the best for them, which we do at Dot & Key, and build a culture where which fosters personal growth for them, knowledge growth for them, and where they are empowered to take decisions, I think Kolkata can be a great city to build in. It also is very economical to build a startup because overall real estate availability is much higher in the city compared to the metros. The cost of human resources much lower because the cost of living is lower in the city. The competition levels are much lower because the number of brands coming out of the city is much lower. So there is a moat in building from a city much less known for something, right? And personally, Calcutta has treated us well as founders, and we love building this brand out of Calcutta, at least to show the country and show the people of the city that you can build one of the largest beauty brands in the country out of Calcutta, which is quite unexpected.
Yeah, and ये बहुत ज़रूरत है to change this mindset, this thought कि नहीं यहाँ से build नहीं हो सकता, because there are big brands that have come up from Kolkata and we have to change this perspective as well. What are your global expansion plans?
यार Dot & Key को हम globally ले जाना चाहते हैं.
अच्छा.
UAE में हम ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट है.
ठीक है.
Maldives में प्रेजेंट है, एंड हमारा मन है over the next 2 to 3 years we go to a lot more countries. Like हमें इंडोनेशिया जाना है बिकॉज काफ़ी बड़ा ब्यूटी मार्केट है वहाँ पे, काफ़ी कंपेरेटिव ब्यूटी मार्केट है, एंड वी वांट टू dominate that beauty market through the concept of I beauty, which is Indian beauty, rather than the popular K beauty or J beauty that exists. So हमें इंडोनेशिया, सिंगापुर, साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में काफ़ी अपॉर्चुनिटीज दिख रही है, एंड वहाँ हमें जाना है. सो हम टीम बिल्ड करना शुरू कर रहे हैं, फॉर्मुलेशंस को बिल्ड करना शुरू कर रहे हैं, कम्युनिकेशन टीम को बिल्ड करना शुरू कर रहे हैं, सो दैट हम ग्लोबल एक्सपेंशन के लिए पुश कर सके within the next 2 odd years. Because ultimately अगर इंडिया में कोई ब्रांड इतना सक्सेसफुल हो सकता है एंड हमारे एस्थेटिक्स काफ़ी ग्लोबल है, तो why not compete with the largest brands in the world in a foreign market and hopefully dominate it.
Absolutely. क्या प्रॉब्लम्स क्या आते हैं जब हम लोग ग्लोबल एक्सपेंशन की बात करते हैं? क्या आपको रुकावट आती है?
I think पॉलिटिकल अलायंसेस काफ़ी चेंज होते हैं. इंडियन इकोनॉमी काफ़ी लार्ज है, काफ़ी स्टेबल है, काफ़ी कंसिस्टेंट है, तो हमें वो कंसिस्टेंसी की हैबिट हो जाती है. As founders building in a country which is so stable and which is so consumer friendly, people friendly. So if you go to countries like Indonesia, वहाँ पे एक इकोनॉमिक चैलेंज आती है एंड डिप्रेशन आती है, तो 20% ऑफ मिडिल क्लास की इनकम राइट ऑफ हो जाती है प्रैक्टिकली एंड इम्पैक्टेड हो जाती है. तो काफ़ी ब्रांड मतलब 20-30% अप डाउन काफ़ी कॉमन है. सो जो लोकल रिस्क है, पॉलिटिकल रिस्क है, इकोनॉमिक रिस्क है फॉर अदर कंट्रीज, smaller countries, smaller economies is much more. Second, team building. Building a brand is a marathon. आपको कंट्री में consistently educate करना पड़ता है consumers को, consumer से बात करना पड़ता है. So it's very hard to have a consistent team in another country unless the founder goes and sits in that country and spends a lot of time building that country, right? So making sure that founder has enough time available in the hand and the team is strong enough is very critical for success in another country. I think watches लेके जाना पड़ता है when you're building a beauty brand in another country whose culture and value system आपको नहीं पता, जो आपको सीखना है in a language जो आपको सीखना है. It's barrier to entry and much harder to build in those countries. But I think with a good war chest and where we can invest in brand building and we can invest by failing at learn from failing at times is something that we can do when you go to another country. But the overall thesis is that if the brand is large enough in India and the growth will slow down with very high profitability, you can build the brand in a lot more countries, hire the right teams, build all these countries slowly, surely, so that the brand becomes more global in nature. And it's only a matter of time that you do it. So it's not like you can do it in 6 months or 1 year, but over a decade or two is when you can kind of go global and build a fairly large global brand and not just an Indian brand.
Because अब हो गया, बहुत हो गया. We want some Indian brands to go global. We have used enough global products. Now it's time that the world uses our products as well.
No, absolutely. I think India's time has started to become a global superpower, not in terms of economy, but in terms of global powerhouse of building the world's best consumer brands, like the Nikes and the Apples of the world needs to now come from India and not from the West.
Okay. Let's come to pricing a product. Okay. How do you find that sweet spot when pricing a product?
I think there are 3 approaches on getting the sweet spot. I think the first approach is sales comparison approach, where you find multiple products in the category. For example, if you're looking at serums, most serums are between 400 to 600 rupees. So making sure that the pricing bucket is known where the maximum volume is happening. So average selling price of a bucket of 10 brands would be a great way, and making sure you're pricing somewhere there is the first method. Second is a cost plus method, where you have a certain cost for creating the product and you say that you need a certain multiple of the cost below which you can't launch. So that might be one basis of launching. And the third is a mix of the two, where there's a sales comparison and a cost approach to reach the most salient price point for it to work and for your profitability to also sustain. And which is practically what we use as a brand, making sure that it has a mix of both.
Okay.
And that's how we typically price it. And then apart from this, you also need to know how expensive the brand is. Where are you? How do you position it? So it's a lot about positioning. So some brands want to position it at a 200 rupee price point, for example, a serum, 200, 250. Some brands want to position it at 6,000, like an Estee Lauder, right? So it's very important for you to understand that who is your audience, why do you want to cater to them, and how much can they pay for your goods. So for example, a Dotton consumer who's 23 and Indian, they'd always be very value conscious, right? We know that Indians in general are value conscious because as you grow up, you're told by your parents that if you have an expensive and an affordable product, go for the affordable product, right? And that's part of our DNA as Indians, right? So we made sure that, and the 23-year-old girl is probably just started working after college, or they're doing their masters. So their disposable income is fairly limited, right? Versus a 27, 28-year-old who's typically or probably married, has much more disposable income. You've been working for 5-7 years. So your salaries or your income is much higher. So you end up creating a brand and the pricing based on who you're targeting. So for us, the 23-year-old girl, we make sure that it's more affordable and premium yet affordable. So very, very value conscious Gen Z girl.
I love it how you would think like that girl from whatever we talk about, whether it is the packaging, the product or pricing. You think कि बस मेरे को उसी के नजरिए से देखना है कि 23-year-old girl maybe just pass out, just अभी job शुरू करा है और self independent बना है. That's really a great approach to look to a consumer कि बस मेरे को उन्हीं के नजर से देखना है ताकि I can think like them. So I think more founders should think like that. So आपके products में skin care है, let's say skin sunscreens हैं, moisturizers हैं, You even have serums. Can you tell me like the biggest percentage of these distribution of each of these products? कौन सा आपका सबसे ज़्यादा
I think
popular?
sunscreen सबसे ज़्यादा popular है. We are the largest player of sunscreen online, right? And overall in India, we're probably top 3 in terms of sunscreen market share, followed by moisturizers and face washes, serums. So that's how the brand is. But our main focus, brand का focus सबसे ज़्यादा face care में है.
Okay.
Because face care ऐसा category है जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा premium आप ले सकते हो. आप अच्छा product अगर deliver करो, तो consumer आपको थोड़ा सा premium देगा. Whereas आपको body care में वो चीज़ नहीं मिल सकता है. So हम हमेशा focus face care में किए हैं. And प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी बहुत बड़ा मेट्रिक रहा है हमारे लिए एज अ ब्रांड कि हम कंज्यूमर को कैसे सर्व कर सकते हैं बेटर कि ब्रांड और प्रॉफिटेबल हो जाए.
राइट. ओके. सीरम आपने बताया. अभी सीरम इज समथिंग जो भी लास्ट कुछ सालों में काफी पॉपुलर हो गया है. टेल मी मोर अबाउट दैट कि क्यों कौन से लोगों को ज्यादा पसंद आ रहा है सीरम एंड व्हाट आई थिंक देयर इज रेटिनॉल एंड I'm very poor at these things, so please excuse me for that. If you can guide us.
Absolutely. So serums have become very popular for simple reasons that it's got very high percentage of actives in it.
Okay.
So it solves the problem in the most minimal time, right? So that's why serums have become really popular over time. So that's why serums are the most premium part of skincare. That if you see, it's more expensive than most of the other subcategories, more expensive than face washes and sunscreens, moisturizers or lip balms, right? It's typically the highest strata of what you're delivering to your consumer, and it's become really popular these days because people now want more products which are outcome oriented, which solve their problem in reality and not just on paper, right? So people expect outcomes much more than inputs because that become really, really popular. And second, I think there are a few brands who are doing a great job in serums because of which it's become really popular. Because when you actually deliver a great product is when really the market demand really picks up, because when you see your friends or your family using a product and it does work for them, then others start kind of using it. So I think serums is a great category, and there are multiple serums which are popular, but India being Indians, we are very conscious on blemishes or anything on our face typically. So most serums actually used only on the face to solve their face challenges. So retinol, hyaluronic, vitamin C, niacinamide. So these are buzzwords which have become really popular in India over the last few years. So you see a lot more of these words than anything else when you think about serums, right? And I'm sure you must be getting a lot of these content served on your Instagram, because Instagram is such a great channel to discover beauty as a subject with your favorite people telling you about it.
ये मैंने रेटिनॉल भी कहीं सुना ही था कि that's why I just should a brand raise funds initially या फिर पहले bootstrap भी रहना चाहिए?
I think raising funds has become such a exciting thing these days, right? It's basically, it tells you that you've come of age, the brand has potential to grow. So it's a great validation. And it makes you feel like a hero amongst people who see the news or any article being published that you've raised funds. But honestly, it's taking a huge responsibility. The concept of raising funds, the notion, gets you excited for a little bit. But ultimately, once you take money, reality kind of creeps up very fast. And then you realize that you really have to deliver. It's just not taking money, which is exciting and what's popular, but what you have to do with it is most important. And as a founder, you really have to do justice to the partner who's come in and invested in your business. I personally feel that you should only raise capital in one of the 3 circumstances. You should raise when you have a clear path to growth. Okay. So you know exactly what you need to do to grow, because money will not solve the problem. Knowing what you want to do with the money and where you want to invest and how you want to invest over time is what gives you clarity on growth. And money will help expedite that growth is when you should kind of raise money. Second, you want a small secondary exit where the founder really build the brand to be a very strong brand, and having a small secondary exit will give you some money in the pocket for some safety security. I think that kind of helps. And third, you should raise money is when you have everything sorted and you just have to pay for stocks and you can't raise debt. Because if you can raise debt, then it's easier to raise debt and kind of fund your stock. But if you can't raise debt, that's when you kind of raise an equity for stock. But if it's not impacting your business and you're getting FOMO for raising funds, I think you're better off not raising, because it's honestly not cool after the first initial honeymoon phase that you go through.
Yeah. Do you think it takes away your freedom?
I don't think it takes away your freedom, but if you're bootstrapped, then you know that you're answerable to yourself.
Yeah.
And probably your family, but that's about it, right? But when you take external capital, you're also committing to your investor that you will grow the business for them, right? And it becomes a treadmill of a type, right, where you consistently need to raise, like, to kind of grow the business. And every new investor that comes in, your growth becomes reset. So if you've grown from 0 to, say, 500 crores revenue, if someone comes at 500 and you're not growing as fast, then the investor is not making money, and there's a lot of pressure on you to deliver to them.
Yeah.
So it becomes really important that when you raise your first round and when you raise a round, you have complete clarity in your head what you're going to do with it, and it's really going to deliver what you're looking for. So, and you're really building something which will result in something substantial over time. So I think this clarity is really important. And if you don't need the money, please don't raise. That's all I can say. And I've told this to some of my founder friends who have not raised and asked me. Like, I was talking to a beauty founder, like brothers who founded a beauty brand. And, they were so happy after discussing with me, because they realized that we don't need the money. We have like a 10% EBITDA business in a very large top line. So what's the point of really raising? Because you don't need it, and you build a beautiful business without external capital. So you have full control over your business.
Yeah. Have you raised any money?
Yeah. So we raised our money. We raised our first round 3 years in, and we raised it from Nykaa.
Okay.
And that's the only time we've raised. We've never needed to raise any funds after that. We raised about 50 odd crores back in 21. And we've built a fairly large business without raising more. And I don't think we're going to raise any more business for the business itself in the near future.
Other than the money, how did it help you?
I think psychologically it makes you much stronger, because for us, we were dealing with or competing with the likes of Hindustan Unilever and the L'Oreals of the world. So they were much larger. They had a much better skill set, larger teams, stronger teams, very strong legacy, and a very strong global brand. A bunch of brands from HUS also very global. And, mentally we were feeling weak, because we thought that, we have like such small capital. How will we build such a large brand?
Yeah.
They're going to invest a lot in marketing and have a superior product and kind of really impact our business. And that's why we went ahead and raised money. After we raised money and we started, first 6 months was kind of rough, because we started over investing of sorts, because we thought it will give us a big return. But unfortunately, money does not solve a problem. The founder themselves really need to find the root cause and solve the problem. Money is only an enabler, and unless you have clarity, it will not do anything for you. So for us, first 6 months were rough, but we realized where we were going wrong. We solved that. And we use the money to scale the brand, because we are much more confident in the decisions we are taking, right? Because just in case if some of our experiments didn't work out, we still had money in the bank to sail us through, right? So that's where it helped us as a brand and us as founders to be more sane building the business, and we could be very aggressive while building it.
Okay. You are very big on online presence. Offline presence we have?
So we just started an offline journey, an aggressive offline journey last May. So we had presence in modern trade in some of the Nykaa stores. But we really realized that, okay, now the brand is fairly large. Let's build a strong offline presence. So we went offline in GT, general trade, modern trade, specialty beauty outlets like Nykaa. And I think the numbers are very, very strong and very, very promising. And some of the way we are growing, we're probably one of the fastest growing brands in retail right now.
Okay.
In the beauty space.
So are your plans to expand in the retail industry?
Yeah, I think we're going to expand. We're going to expand in retail. We're already expanding in retail.
Is there any D2C myths that you wanted to bust over here?
Yeah, incremental marketing spends lead to higher numbers. It's short term, but they'll not sustain. I think all D2C brands lose money. It's definitely not true. Dot & Key is at more than 15% EBITDA. So we are actually very profitable at a very large scale of over 500 crores. Third, I think money builds big brands. You don't need money to build big brands. I think you need the right idea, you need the right execution, and you just need to be consistent in running that marathon of brand building. And that's the only way you can build very strong, consistent, and beautiful beauty brand.
Right. You just mentioned कि you're a very profitable brand. Let's talk a bit about that. कि how to build a profitable brand.
I think my number one thought here is that you need to have a moat. So our packaging is a moat. We have 10 plus patents for our mold, so no one can kind of copy our brand and brand language and brand aesthetics. So I think that becomes a clear winner in a very competitive market. I think second, first to market. So when you've thought of an idea and you're first to market, that builds massive consumer trust, recall, and gives you massive SOE, share of voice, without spending a lot on marketing. So that helps becoming profitable. I think third, consistency. I think mentioned it a bunch of times, and I feel that most brands kind of want to do different things at different times. It doesn't work. You have to do the same thing again and again. For example, you can enter so many different categories like body care and color cosmetics and hair care and face care, and some brands are there in all these categories. But the reality is the best brands are known for less and doing that really, really well. So we made sure that face care is our more. We made sure that sunscreens and moisturizers is what we are known for as a brand. And we want to go really deep in these two categories and become market leaders. So by going very deep in less number of categories, the recall is much higher for any brand, and which results in higher EBITDA levels, lower marketing costs, and over time, a significantly profitable brand.
10 years down the line, आप एक स्किन केयर ब्यूटी ब्रांड को कहाँ जाते हुए देखते हो?
आई थिंक हाउसफुल ब्रांड्स एंड 10,000 करोड़ का ब्रांड तो काफी सारे इंडिया में आ सकते हैं, because the Indian beauty market, especially the online beauty market, is growing at about 25% plus for the next 3-4 years, 5 years, right? So that's a massive tailwind. For example, America has grown at 1-2%. So वो काफी बड़ा tailwind है. Second, Indian consumer भी काफी fragmented है. It's like an onion. There are like 21, 22 different layers of the Indian consumer.
Yeah.
So आप कितने different consumers के लिए कितने different brands बना सकते हैं. And ये सब brands काफी बड़े हो सकते हैं because India का disposable income काफी fast grow हो रहा है. And एक Goldman Sachs का report भी था कि इंडिया का जो upper class है वो itself एक country होता तो दुनिया का top 10 most populated countries में से आता. So that's the kind of paying capacity and disposable income that India is having as a country, right? And it's only poised to grow from here, the way the country is growing and the way its citizens are building the country, its government is building the country.
Can you also share a bit about how you're using AI in your industry?
Oh, we're doing a bunch of things with AI at Donkey because we're digital first. We are native to all things tech. So we use a lot of content creation through probably ChatGPT, through a bunch of visualization tools like DALI. We use a lot of tools for like customer service. For example, voice AI, chat AI through chat. So I think these things which we are doing is like a lower hanging fruit. Apart from this, in AI, what we want to do is we're building a tool for making our media spend more effective, making sure the right consumer based on weather is seeing the right ad. So I think that's really helping us as a brand. And I think the adoption of AI has just started, and we are internally doing a lot of experiments to see where AI can be used and how it can be used to decipher data much better, read the right matrices through data, which is one click through AI. And I think make a lot of content through AI. So objective is how can we make a lot of content at scale through AI. So I think we're doing a bunch of initiatives to make .key native to the AI environment and the AI world, right? But it's a long race, and AI has just started, and the tools in AI is just evolving based on different use cases. So we feel that as long as we start and we're consistent, I think in the next couple of years, as the industry matures and AI matures, and the tools which is using AI as a layer matures, I think it's going to be a much more integrated piece in our business. And it will help us scale faster, solve the consumers' need better, and probably be more profitable over time.
कोई 3 ऐप आपके फोन में है जिसके बिना आपका बिजनेस नहीं चल पाएगा?
I think Instagram number 1, YouTube's number number 2. And the third is, I think, Google Analytics.
Okay.
These three apps that I have is hardcore. Like, I can't do without for my business.
Okay. So let's talk about analytics. You just said you have done last year, I think 500 CR.
500 plus, yeah.
500 CR plus आपने last year cross करा था. You have huge data, right? How do you use that data?
I think different ways. I think consumer data, historical data. So some data we see year on year. For example, what happened last year at this time, and how is the consumer behavior, and how can we kind of have strategies to kind of better utilize that data at this point of time. So year on year consumer trends are quite similar because all consumer consumption trends are based on seasons primarily. So we use that data. Second, it tells us consumer data when they're interacting with the brand. How do you get the shortest path? By lowest spends, how do you get more sales? Right? So that's helping us. Third, it tells you like what are the consumers' habits who are consuming the brand the most, and what genre of consumer is consuming the most, so that you can kind of target the right consumer for the maximum sales with minimum investment. Right. Fourth, I think understanding directionally who your consumer is, because your consumer is consistently evolving, because India is evolving.
Yeah.
Citizens in India, especially the younger folks, the Gen Z, their consumption patterns are very different. And every year it evolves, right? There are men who behave a lot like, and the consumption patterns a lot like skincare at least. So we're seeing a lot more of that. So we make sure that we have a very clear view on who our consumers are, and making sure that our communication, our content, our marketing strategies, our targeting is all geared towards the right consumer, so that we can deliver to them better, sharper, and ultimately make them loyalists into the brand.
Dot की हम लोग क्या नया products देने वाला है आने वाले समय में?
बहुत देने वाला है, पर वो सीक्रेट है.
Okay, we'll be waiting for that.
I think वो देखने के लिए Instagram में डॉटकी को फॉलो करें, so काफी इंटरेस्टिंग लॉन्चेस आ सकते हैं and देख सकते हैं आप.
Absolutely. Link description में मिल जाएगा. You can go and follow. Okay, what is the one mistake you see D2C founder जो होते हैं वो डिजिटल मार्केटिंग में करते हैं?
कंज्यूमर प्रोफाइल, जिस कंज्यूमर के लिए आप अपना ब्रांड बना रहे हो, उसको आप डिफाइन नहीं करते हो. बिकॉज जब आप बहुत ब्रॉड ब्रांड बनाते हो, आप जेनजी को भी टारगेट कर रहे हो, मिलेनियल्स को भी टारगेट कर रहे हो, तो आपको क्या बोलना है वो आपको क्लैरिटी नहीं होता. सो ब्रांड लैंग्वेज कंसिस्टेंटली चेंज होता रहता है, जिसके कारण आपका ब्रांड बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड डीप रूटेड नहीं हो पाता है कंज्यूमर के माइंड में, बिकॉज ब्रांड तो अल्टीमेटली कंज्यूमर के माइंड में ही बनता है. तो इसलिए just profile your consumer better, understand your consumer better, sharpen who your consumer is and consumer profile is, so you can talk to them better, sharper.
Targeting properly and understanding your consumer and then targeting.
Yeah. Including communication pieces, because it's just not ad spends, it's all about communication to the right person.
Yeah. What do you want to communicate with your product?
It's like I keep on telling my team, if you're trying to sell a sweater in the summers, no one's going to buy. Right? So you need to sell them the right product at the right time. And that's the only way.
Yeah. कोई एक ऐसा कस्टमर रिव्यू जो आप कभी भूल नहीं सकते?
बहुत सारे कस्टमर रिव्यूज है जो मैं भूल नहीं सकते, because I remember there was this lady 4 years ago when we had just launched our hand cream and sanitizer together back in 2018. So we saw that AOV काफी high था एक लड़की का and consistent purchase था. So she said that it's such a lifesaver for me because I like my hands icky clean and I like it moisturized. तो उसको इतना पसंद था कि बोलेगी कि मैं सबको बांटते रहती हूँ ये प्रोडक्ट, मुझे इतना पसंद है. So I think that consumer stuck to me, that if you solve consumer problems better and you consistently do it and you listen to them, I think the kind of consumer love you can get is irreplaceable and so satisfying as a founder.
Suyash, walk us through your day.
To my day, I get up at about 6:45, spend about half an hour with my daughter before she goes to sleep, and then I work out from say 7:45 to what 8:30, 8:45, and then leave for work after having breakfast at about 9:30, reach work at about 10 o'clock, have back-to-back meetings pre-aligned. Actually, from 10 to 10:30, I make sure that I align the entire day basis on what I can accomplish, so that things are moving in place, and have a bunch of meetings and leave office by about 6:30 sharp, because I think work-life balance is really critical, and making sure that I give my best in the 8-9 hours which I'm at work, and finish all my phone calls while moving back from work to office. Like if I missed any phone calls, I make sure that I do call people and kind of just close all the open chapters. Reach home, spend hour and a half, 2 hours with my son and my daughter before they go to sleep, and help them go to sleep, tuck them in, and then watch some Netflix with my wife, or chat for a little bit, and then go to bed by about 11.
Wow.
That's pretty much what I do. And probably weekends are slightly different, where you go out for dinner or something, but we typically end up being back by 11:30 and passing out.
Last question, Suyash. What's the best advice that you have ever got?
I think try fast, fail fast, grow fast. So I think someone told me that please don't keep your ideas in the head, execute it fast, learn from it, move on. And, as a founder, I think that really worked. Instead of keeping things in the head and perfecting it, we executed it maybe 60-70% there. But at least that happened, and then ultimately it got perfected over time. But I think this has really helped me.
Thank you so much, Suyash. It was amazing talking to you, and I'm sure everybody listening have enjoyed it greatly.
Thank you. Thank you.